I hurried through the bustling aisles of Walmart, hunting for a specific outfit I'd spotted on their online store. It was one of those rare finds one left in the large size. As I reached for it, a voice interrupted me. "Leave it alone, I've seen that dress before," a man said. Startling me, I glanced at him, a puzzled look on my face. "Sorry, sir, I don't think we've met. I just arrived," I replied, assuming he had mistaken me for someone else. He shook his head adamantly. "No, I've seen you. Don't take it. That dress brings nothing but trouble." I was perplexed, a bit unnerved by his fervent insistence, but I reasoned that he must be mistaken or perhaps suffering from a delusion. Ignoring his words, I grabbed the outfit and headed to the checkout. As I queued up, I felt a heavy gaze on me. Turning to see the man glaring from a distance, discomfort gnawed at me, and I kept a wary eye on him just as I paid for my purchase and turned to leave. The man lunged at me. Panic seized me as he grabbed for the bag, his eyes wild with fury. Walmart employees rushed over, wrestling him away from me and leading him out of the store. Shaken, I hurried to my car. Tossing the bag onto the passenger's seat, I glanced in the rearview mirror, my breath catching as I saw the man at his car, his hands rummaging in the trunk. Without a second thought, I hit the gas, the tires screeching as I peeled out of the parking lot. Fear gripped me, my thoughts racing. I decided to head straight to the police station. A few blocks away, I pulled into the police station lot, my heart pounding. Rushing inside, I recounted the bizarre altercation at Walmart. The officers listened intently, promising to look into the matter as I glanced nervously towards the exit. After providing my statement, I ventured back out. Glancing anxiously around, the man's car was nowhere in sight, and I breathed a sigh of relief. I jumped back into my car and headed home, feeling a modicum of safety, but unbeknownst to me, danger still lurked in the shadows. As I approached my house, I was oblivious to the man silently tailing me. As I reached my house, relief washed over me. Home, a safe haven. I pulled into the driveway, hastily locking the car and dashing inside. I bolted the door, tearing through the curtains, my pulse thundering in my ears. There he stood, unmistakably the same man, lurking at the curb. His gaze fixed on my house. I froze, dread seeping into my bones. His eyes met mine, and a shiver raced down my spine. Panicked, I opened my phone, my fingers trembling as I dialed 911. "There's a man outside my house. He's been following me," I blurted out. Minutes dragged by as I cowered inside, my heart pounding in my chest, but there was no sign of the man when the police arrived, leaving me to spend a restless night in a state of unease. The following morning, I filed a formal complaint and secured additional safety measures for my home. Days turned into weeks, and I dared to hope that the terrifying ordeal was behind me, but the unsettling encounter had left a haunting mark on me. I became vigilant, constantly checking my surroundings, living in perpetual fear of the man's return. Then, one evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I glimpsed him from my window, lurking in the shadows. My heart leaped into my throat, and I quickly barricaded myself inside, trembling as I called the police once more. They arrived swiftly, but the man had fled before they arrived. I insisted on pressing charges, and with their assistance, I took every possible measure to ensure my safety. Days turned into months, and I gradually eased out of the perpetual state of fear. But the memory of that harrowing encounter lingered like a dark cloud over my life. The man remained at large, leaving me in a constant state of apprehension, forever wondering if he would return. It was a typical evening shift at Walmart, and I was stationed at one of the registers near the back of the store. The day had been a whirlwind of activity, with customers coming and going, the constant beeping of items being scanned, and the usual banter exchanged at the checkout. As the hours ticked by, the usual hustle and bustle of the store started to dwindle, leaving behind an eerie silence. The clock struck midnight, signaling a shift in the atmosphere. The store, once bustling with activity, was now eerily quiet. The dim overhead lights cast long, unsettling shadows across the aisles, and a sense of isolation settled in. I continued scanning items for the occasional late-night shopper, when I noticed something peculiar out of the corner of my eye. I glimpsed a man lingering near the store's exit. He stood still, his gaze fixed on the checkout area, and his demeanor seemed odd, out of place amidst the quiet emptiness of the late-night store. Initially, I brushed it off as a weary customer or someone waiting for someone else, but as time passed, the man remained rooted to the same spot, his presence casting an uncomfortable shadow over the otherwise deserted store. A sense of unease began to creep up on me. It wasn't anything concrete, just a feeling of something being off, like a subtle shift in the air that sent a shiver down my spine. The isolation felt palpable, and the occasional creaks and groans of the store seemed amplified in the silence. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours, and my nerves grew taut. The man by the exit hadn't moved an inch, his unwavering presence becoming increasingly unnerving. Then a sudden disruption shattered the eerie stillness. The store intercom crackled to life, its suddenness echoing through the empty aisles. A voice, distorted and unsettling, pierced the silence. "It's time," it said, the words dripping with a chilly resonance that sent a shiver down my spine. I looked around, expecting others to react to the haunting voice, but there was no one else in sight. It was as if the voice had been meant only for me. A haunting message in the desolate store. Fear clawed at the edges of my mind, but I tried to rationalize it as a malfunctioning intercom or someone playing a prank. Yet, the unsettling feeling lingered, and a sense of dread settled over me like a heavy blanket. I stole a glance towards the exit, only to find the man now standing by the end of my register. His presence was unnerving, his gaze fixed on me with an intensity that sent a chill down my spine. His eyes bore into mine, hollow and devoid of emotion, and a knot formed in the pit of my stomach. Before I could utter a word, he spoke, his voice low and menacing. "You're next," he muttered, his words laced with an ominous tone that froze me in place. Panic surged through me as I reached for the emergency button under the counter. My fingers fumbled with the small device as I tried to alert security or anyone who could help. But when I glanced up again, the man had vanished, leaving behind an unsettling emptiness. I dialed security and recounted the chilling encounter. My voice trembling with fear, they rushed to my aid, scanning the store and checking the CCTV footage. But there was no trace of the mysterious man. As the night wore on, and the store slowly returned to its usual rhythm, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Every shadow seemed darker, every sound amplified, and the memory of the haunting encounter lingered like a shadow in my mind. I never found out who that man was or why he targeted me with his ominous message. It remained an inexplicable, unsettling incident, a chilling reminder of the inexplicable, unexplained moments that can haunt even the most ordinary of places. I entered Walmart, the sterile fluorescent lights illuminating the sprawling aisles. It was just another ordinary trip for me, picking up some essentials before heading home. But what was meant to be mundane turned into a horrifying experience that shook me to my core. I grabbed a cart and navigated through the aisles, scanning shelves for the items on my list. The store was bustling with shoppers, carts clattering, kids giggling, and the constant hum of activity. It felt comforting, the usual chaos of a busy day, as I reached for a jar of pasta sauce. I glimpsed an unsettling sight, a man in a dark hoodie, his face obscured by the hood. Stalking down an aisle, his furtive movements drew my attention, his eyes scanning the store as if searching for something or someone. I shrugged it off, assuming he was just another shopper in a rush, but a knot of unease settled in my stomach, an instinctual feeling of something amiss that lingered despite my attempts to dismiss it. I moved on with my shopping, trying to shake off the unsettling encounter, but then in the electronics section, I saw the same hooded figure again, lurking among the TV displays. My heart raced, my senses on high alert as a chill ran down my spine. I tried to convince myself it was merely a coincidence, my imagination playing tricks on me, yet his presence felt ominous, sending a shiver down my spine. I quickened my pace, trying to put some distance between us. As I approached the checkout lanes, I felt a prickle of fear at the back of my neck. There he was, the hooded man, in line just a few customers ahead of me. His demeanor was unnervingly calm, a contrast to the turmoil brewing within me. I hesitated, my instincts screaming at me to leave, to abandon my cart and flee. But reason battled against fear. I couldn't simply abandon my groceries and bolt out, so I remained, albeit with a throbbing sense of dread. As I waited in line, I noticed his gaze fixated on me, an unsettling intensity in his eyes that sent a wave of panic coursing through me. I looked away, pretending to be occupied with my phone, hoping he'd lose interest. When it was my turn to check out, I hurriedly paid for my items, my hands trembling as I fumbled with my wallet. As I wheeled my cart towards the exit, a bone-chilling realization struck me: he was following me. I quickened my pace, my heart pounding in my chest. I glanced back, confirming my fear. The hooded man was tailing me, matching my steps, his hood concealing his face, casting an aura of malevolence. I reached the parking lot, the vast expanse feeling daunting as I scanned for my car. Panic consumed me as I realized I'd parked at the far end, isolated from the bustling crowd near the store's entrance. I sprinted towards my car, my breath ragged, the sound of my pounding heart drowning out everything else. With trembling hands, I unlocked the car, tossing my groceries inside, and slid into the driver's seat, locking the doors in a frenzy. As I turned the key in the ignition, a dark silhouette appeared outside my window. It was him, the hooded man, his face still hidden in the shadows. His hand gripped a knife, glinting menacingly in the dim parking lot lights. Terror surged through me as he lunged towards my car, pounding on the windows with a frenzy desperation. I floored the accelerator, my heart pounding in my ears, the car screeching out of the parking lot. My mind raced with thoughts of escape. Adrenaline pumping through my veins, I glanced back. Seeing the hooded man disappearing into the store, I drove straight to the police station. Trembling and tearful, recounting the harrowing encounter, the authorities searched the area, but the hooded man was nowhere to be found. They assured me they'd increase patrols in the area, but the fear that lingered was indelible. An encounter that turned a routine shopping trip into a nightmarish ordeal, leaving me with a haunting sense of vulnerability.